What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. We've got a good one this evening. We've got three gentlemen sitting backstage right now. We're going to get bullish all together. Of course, everybody that's here, smash that like button. We've got plenty to talk about, plenty to be bullish about. But I want to bring something to light in regards to the title of the show this evening. Just a little tidbit. So I'll bring up my screen here for a moment. If you're unfamiliar, ARK Invest, ARK Investment Management LLC, American investment management firm based in Florida, founded by Cathie Wood. You may recognize her face. They just released their report, their big ideas for 2025. And in it, they have a section on Bitcoin, and they talk about how Bitcoin has been evolving over time. Previous all-time high just hit in 2024, and again, beginning of the year, talking about kind of how the market is growing and matured over time. But near the end of their report, they got to their projections and how a prediction and price that they made in 2024 seems to be on track in their opinion. And so what were their projections? Well, their base case for Bitcoin by 2030, $710,000. Their bull case is 1.5 mil, and their bear case. So if you're feeling bearish, 300K with that's a yearly return of 21%. Let's just take a quick listen to what Cathie Wood had to say back in November, and thus is shown in this more recent report.
We have a 2030 target. In our base case, it's around $650,000. In our bull case, it's between $1 and $1.5 million. Now, remember, we were the first public asset manager to gain exposure to Bitcoin in 2015 at $250. And we still, at 90,000, I think we have a long way to go. Why? Well, first of all, we're getting regulatory relief here. And I think that's one of the most important things coming out of this administration. We will get regulatory relief on all kinds of innovation, including healthcare. So the other thing is we're looking at Bitcoin now being viewed as a new asset class. It's not just a global monetary system. It's a new asset class. And what that means is institutions and asset allocators generally are saying, wait a minute, this asset is behaving differently from all of our other assets. We need to include. So I think that's the next big move. And and if you look at years where the Bitcoin has halved and the inflation rate has gone down to 0.9, it's usually had a nice big move.
So there you have it. Again, they gained exposure with Bitcoin back when it was $200. So, I mean, they've got a pretty good track record.
Okay, now let's talk price.
For anticipating value there. But we are going to dive into the show. We've got an awesome panel. We've, of course, got Mike Germano, who most recently ended his 3 years with Bitcoin Magazine onto new ventures. Maybe we'll chat a little bit about that this evening. We've got the silky smooth vocals of Guy Swann, the host of Bitcoin Audible. If you ever need to read without reading, let Guy do it for you. He can read you everything about Bitcoin. And of course, we've got this gentleman right here, Mr. TJ Miller. If you're on, if he looks very familiar, that's because he's probably in a whole bunch of stuff that you've seen. Silicon Valley, Deadpool. He's voiced in How to Train Your Dragon if you got kiddos around, and plenty more. And he's currently touring as well. He's going to be in my hometown of Calgary. Can't wait to go see him do some stand-up. So very excited to have these gentlemen on. Without further ado, I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
All right, let's welcome to the stage Mr. Mike Germano, Mr. TJ Miller, and Mr. Guy Swann. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Are you guys feeling bullish? How's your Friday going?
Hello from Miami. Yo.
You're much warmer than I am. It's been minus 20 degrees here for the past week.
Well, you live in Canada. I mean,
I
the
know.
only thing worse is Edmonton. So you got to make a decision here. Are you going to live in
Edmonton's
the
very-
worst weather or the worst weather? That's
Yeah,
all.
I'm literally 3 hours south drive from Edmonton.
No,
So
I will say this. My wife also, Kate, keeps being like, "Oh, I'm so jealous of the weather." Yeah, but you still got to be in Miami. So these guys are all lazy drug addicts. The whole place is coated in cocaine. I don't do cocaine, so yeah, I'm bullish on Bitcoin and bullish on getting the fuck out of here. Although, as I said, I had a little meeting with Michael Saylor, and that'll be fun to talk about the bullish nature of that. But yes, hello, Sessions. Thanks for having me on, Mike. Huge fan, obviously. I think I have. I didn't know that I was going to be able to tell you this, but my wife made a piece of art, and we've got one coming your way. So I'm excited about that, even though you kind of you ducked out of that. And then Guy Swann, this is exciting. We've never even really had a moment to ask one another very personal questions. So
this would be the place to do that. Yeah, man. Yeah,
so it's lovely to be on.
Get into the deep stuff, you know.
yeah.
The really deep stuff. Double N.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, we're going to get to it right away. Again, this is Why Are We Bullish? Premise of the show, of course. We all have various reasons for being bullish. There's always a reason for being bullish in and around Bitcoin. So the flow of the show, pretty simple. I'm going to ask one of you, why are you bullish? It's a chance to rant and get off your chest whatever you're excited about. And then together we'll all riff on the topic until we put a bow on it and rotate to the next one. So, Mike, I'm tossing it to you first. And I'm literally just going to toss it right up. Mike, why are you bullish? Take it away.
Well, I'm bullish because a bunch of senators and David Sachs came together to talk about their school homework assignment project that they were working on together, and to give us an update on what was happening with, crypto and their and their stablecoin bill. But in reality, it was a way to just let everyone know what's about to come. And I know that we have a bunch of autists in Bitcoin who expected, like, you tell us that SBR is happening right now. I need to have in the first 2 minutes look at the Bitcoin price. And that's absolutely ridiculous. What not only are they putting together, not just a sovereign wealth fund, but it's going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve. Doesn't matter what anyone at Ripple says, right? Just because they paid $10 million to be at Trump's party does not mean that they're involved in anything and they're all idiots, right? And what we are going to have is we are going to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve. They all want David Sachs to say it. David Sachs ain't going to say it. Trump's going to get credit for it. And the last, it's only been 14 days and he's literally, cut half of that U.S. aid and changed everything. Like, he's done a lot in 14 days. So once again, this Bitcoin thing is like for when he's got nothing going on, it's going to be his little side fling that he's just going to throw out there. And I can say this, what people don't know is there's 3 countries that are just waiting for U.S. to announce and that they're going to announce the Bitcoin strategic reserve. Like, that's that, once again, being at the Bitcoin conference, Bitcoin magazine side, we'd have to talk to people and spend 8 months to try to get them to even think about this. And now we just know of countries that are doing this, that are like, oh, do you want to report on us doing this? Or we're just hearing about it. So once again, people have infected the Bitcoin network, and everyone's kind of doing all the work. What we're seeing kind of happen out of what the BTC Prague team has done with check. And then finally, I think it's important to know that MicroStrategy went through, puberty, brand puberty, and now they're in this weird stage of a weird logo that they think is cool. We're all supposed to pretend like we like. We're all supposed to pretend like we like that branding. I get it. You guys all have to say it because Daddy Sailor. But I think that we're excited now about what that will become and where that company's gonna go.
TJ has thoughts.
Can I say that the only joke that I told Michael Saylor today that worked was I said, congratulations on the rebranding, going from MicroStrategy to strategy. And I'm excited. When are you guys going to do a G? Just a G. And
Gatorade went to G and it was like the worst,
but edgy, EGY. I think they just keep getting more micro. And he thought that was funny. And then my other 2 jokes, he was like, okay, thank you for not. I don't need a carrot cake. And I was like, well, that's why I didn't bring.
He does not laugh a lot.
I was like, that's why I think, that's why I didn't bring you a carrot cake for your birthday. And he's like, I don't need it. And I was like, yeah, that's why I didn't bring it. He's like, all right, get out of my house, essentially. I think I agree with you, Mike, in the sense that, right, everything you just said, I agree with you. But I will say that that was such a flex to the fintech, just to the financial community. And that's what I love about it. So they could have changed their name to a backwards B, you know, with Ethereum and like a circle with a slash through it. They could have, but I think what was really interesting was to see them, in my opinion, at the right time. By the way, forget the branding, think about the timing. To sort of be like, and that was one of the most interesting things today talking to him. I think there are other people that feel this way, including probably the four of us. But I don't think he, in his mind at any point, is like, see, bitches, I told you, I fucking knew it. That's it, mic drop. I don't think that's in his mind. I think he's just like 30% year over year. That's the yield. If you have money, it should be in Bitcoin. Anybody who's not doing that, I don't understand. And it was also funny. I talked to somebody else that I know at MicroStrategy, and just the idea of like, I guess they're getting a little bit of blowback online about how they have this merch store, which I find very funny.
They should.
They have a merch store and they don't take Bitcoin. And I guess a bunch of people are like, why don't they take Bitcoin? And Sailor goes, because I was like, that is ironic. And he was like, why? And I go, it's kind of the definition of irony. I mean, you guys don't take Bitcoin. And he was like, yeah, but we tell people you're not supposed to spend your Bitcoin. It's capital. It's not currency. And then I was like, yeah, I look like a real fucking asshole right now. I was like, yeah, that didn't quite, I guess I didn't really connect with that component of it. But I like the rebranding because I like the message that it sends. That's why I like it. And I think it's cool that he's like, wants to have a word like Google or whatever. I think that is interesting because I think he's at the precipice of that. But, you know, we talk about sessions. You say we talk about why are we bullish? That would be one of the, check marks that I would put on. This is the zeitgeist sentiment of what's happening. You know,
Guy, what are your thoughts in and around the branding? I mean, a strategy is larger than a MicroStrategy, so they're moving on up there. But
that would be, you know, intuitively you would assume that to be the case, that they have stepped their game larger. But I actually read a tweet from someone, which is funny. I have no idea this is something that I'm sure they just pulled out of their ass, but I thought it was a kind of an interesting idea. Is that this was actually a transient branding, and that they were actually, this is actually a move towards, because it's strategy with the B, right? And that this is actually a move towards strategy bank, and that the potential brand shift is to open up a financial institution or to have it as a backing for a financial instrument or a payments network, or, you know, whatever it is. I mean, they provide like they do business analytics software sort of stuff right now. It wouldn't be, that's not a huge stretch in my opinion, especially when you think about the fact that like the type of tools and things that they build, like the ease of being able to do that themselves, like they'd be able to build all of that in-house, so they wouldn't have the like you in the fiat infrastructure, you're just beholden to a billion other people. And if you start thinking about how you treat your business from a local position, like what control you want to have and how you want to run your stack and all of that stuff, is that you suddenly have this opening to do a whole bunch of stuff that the fiat world just doesn't let you do, that you can do yourself. So it would be really interesting. I mean, I have not looked into this. I don't really know much about, you know, no depth here. But it was a fascinating idea, and it's hard to let go of. I keep thinking about it.
as someone I had an agency in branding and advertising for many years before this. This is the playbook. This is what you do when you're going to get to it's a kind of a bridge logo, bridge identity. And you know, the gentleman who tweeted that, I was absolutely like, not only does it make sense, but it's a smart play for them. First, they have to shed their old company, because once again, they have a tremendous amount of employees. I went to MicroStrategy World a couple months ago. I presented there, but there's a whole company, right? Like the Bitcoin, you know, Bitcoin for Corporations was the side event. They have a massive company. And so for them to even say the massive company, like, hey, you know, this is kind of half shedding the massive company and putting that Bitcoin logo there, I agree. I think it'll become a bank. It'll become, which is obviously what they're going to do. So half of it is first kind of shying away. It's the divorce from the old company, which, maybe that splits apart or whatnot. But from a branding perspective, obviously strategy is like not the cool hot word. This is going to go. Putting that B there was the more important part.
I've got a quick question here. Sorry, TJ, you go ahead first, and then I got a question for the whole panel here.
Just like, so where does, and I'm asking Guy and Mike, everybody, where does sort of the preferred stock, the STRK, come in with that? Is that sort of the first move in that direction? Because I didn't think about it as such. I just think Saylor was kind of like, we're not a software company anymore. And I think that he said, we're Bitcoin first. And I think the reason he said AI is because as a futurist, he's like, that is staying in the conversation. But I had kind of a late night conversation too about, and I'm working within the realm of AI a lot right now, but it's like this AI agency, all this stuff, and meme coins definitely may go the way of NFTs and metaverse, where we just are confirmed again in the next cycle that these are like fads and that Bitcoin is not only the only thing that remains, but is, and I'm not going to say I'm a maxi like hardcore to the level that I don't own any ETH, but my wife is a fucking maxi. And she's like, why buy Pepsi when you can buy Coke? And why would you ever not buy Coca-Cola? So I get that. But I was wondering from the three of you guys, like in this road that you're saying they might take, where does that like strike? I'm joking. Where does that fit into the financial products that they're, offering or trying to move into?
That's a good question.
Cool. Let's none of us answer it.
So
I've been partying a lot now.
I mean, like, let's not forget, guys, everyone just, they spent 20 years providing AI and computer systems to all the government agencies. Like, I feel like we don't get ever say that, but like, when you even go to their conference, they're like, here's all the government agencies we provide services to. I've always asked what they kind of do, and I never understood. I've been in the tech world for many years. I never understood what they do, but they were, once again, probably providing good services to companies. They were just a publicly traded company that no one really ever heard of in the space. So if you're asking me what financial services they're going to offer in Bitcoin, they're going to be Bitcoin's biggest holder, where the shareholders don't care what they do with Bitcoin, and they're going to find ways to financially engineer the rest of Wall Street with that Bitcoin. And that's why they're pushing every other company to adopt this Bitcoin strategy. You would think if it was Saylor only cared about it for himself, he would only do it. But instead, he worked for Bitcoin for corporations. He's given that playbook out. He wants everyone else to do it, partially because he wants he wants to have more collateral damage if, the Wall Street says you can't do this, right? Because he's kind of figured out this very unique play. But he wants everyone else to do it. So it seems like the normal, and he's just going to be on the top of the hill. He's the chairman of the company. He already stepped down just to focus on Bitcoin. Now the whole company is going to be focused on it.
I was just going to say, sorry, I'll quickly just chime in. I think, again, it's if there's anything that Bitcoiners have learned over time is being a Bitcoin only company is very tricky, right? It's very easy to make money when you are saying there's Bitcoin and then there's all this other stuff and we're going to make money on you trading and timing and moving and giving you, like TJ, as you alluded to, different products based on all of these different coins, and all of them have merit and all of this other stuff. And then the cycles come and go. But every time, every cycle, we see this flushing out, and it's just a volatile path to owning less Bitcoin in the long run. And so I think that the draw with something like what Michael Saylor is doing is, one, you have to have a business that actually isn't a zombie, that actually generates a profit and has like a business model that is profitable. And then the compelling use case is, what are they doing with those profits? Well, they're stacking Bitcoin and saving in money that nobody can print, which allows them to continue to accrue more value and then funnel more into building the business from there. So it's like you're getting this basically like this corporation on steroids that knows how to generate a profit and isn't just benefiting from the fiat, like anything with a pulse is going to go up forever. And they're anticipating kind of the shift into a bit more of like a sound money standard where like you actually have to provide value in order to accrue value over time, and then also accrue that value in something that can't be debated. So I don't know. That's Guy, I interrupted you, so I'll let you dive in as well here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a, I mean, you know, this is a total guess, but in kind of a naive picture of how I see kind of what MicroStrategy is, how they have positioned themselves and what other people are using them for. It's basically a hedge against, it's an arbitrage play against the fake interest rate in the fiat world and the expected CAGR of Bitcoin. Is what's the return on Bitcoin that you would get in a growing and establishing new sound monetary standard, and the fake interest rate that you are getting in fiat. And so they are literally issuing debt. They're basically making the what is it, Pierre's it's a bet, it's a what's the attack against the dollar? Do what?
No, I was saying Pascal's wager, but that's about believing in God so that you might get into heaven. Sorry.
But it's he's basically taking out debt to buy in bad money in order to buy good money. And which in and of itself is a arbitrage play that is pushing towards real interest rates. So, and then you have another really interesting thing that's happening with something like Tether, is that they are backing a dollar stable coin by buying bonds, but they are only buying short-term bonds. So they, again, are making a play on short-term interest rates in order to provide infrastructure. And I just, my initial thinking, or my simple thought would be that they are moving somewhere into formalizing what they are being used as. Is that, okay, this is a play for lending, like you are going to buy an instrument that is a loan to buy Bitcoin or something of the sort, and establishing some sort of a concrete market, and they become essentially a pass-through for ownership of Bitcoin, or hedging against Bitcoin, or hedging against bad interest rates when it's not keeping up with inflation, you know, whatever it is. But it's something there, because that's how they're being used. I would wonder if there was some extension or formalization of that kind of a relationship, I guess.
Yeah, I just want to tag in one last thing here in regards to TJ. You said, like, you know, you were alluding to the past in regards to various, you know, like the flush of all the like BS as a cycle comes and goes. And I love seeing this chart, because it's just encapsulates that very sentiment. This is the performance of like the top 2,000 and something coins over like a decade long period versus Bitcoin. And this is drawn
Dude,
out. Yeah.
That's the best. I mean, you know, and there is something funny. It's like, you know, I think sometimes we hurt ourselves by being too maximalist. I think that, you know, we want larger adoption. I said this today, and just give me 1 second, because I am in Miami. Can you guys shut the fuck up for 1 second? Because I'm in a conversation. Okay? Lose it.
Nobody clip this.
It's like a city that is one of those 3-wheel cars, the slingshot. Or that's the whole fucking thing. Ridiculous. So, I love this. I mean, you know, part of what I was talking about today is like, I just couldn't believe that. You know, I am concerned that when my main focus right now, and you guys saw Joe Bryan's video.
Yes.
That, like, just kind of. So I had dinner with him on Friday. I also love, it's so funny that everybody, when I tell people I'm a Bitcoiner and stuff, they're just like, what? Like, what? Why? Like, I don't know. My first question is, why aren't you? Yeah. What I talked to him about is he made this great thing. I love his voice. Sailor said that also, but it's 40 minutes long, and it's great. But all of us have tried to get people to understand Bitcoin in like 4 minutes, and we lose their attention after 3 minutes, right? So I'm really focused on how, and Michael Saylor didn't, he kind of was like, okay, but I'm really focused on right now, like, what is the property? What is the thing that just makes Bitcoin cool? And suddenly you're like, oh, it'd be so cool to learn about Bitcoin more, because I also have this theory that you need to do about 50 hours of study and learning on Bitcoin to understand it. And it's almost impossible to get anyone to study after they've left school or graduated or whatever. And what's weird to me, and I was thinking about this today a lot, how is it possible that if I say to you, and this isn't the reason, I'm behind the philosophy. That's what I think is interesting. How is it possible that I can say to you, this is a way for you to be really wealthy? I'm going to tell you about something that if you learn about it, you could be rich, which is not the reason that any of us are into it. But how is it possible that I say that and then people are like, cool, wait, I have to read? I have to read about it? What do you mean? And it's like, just maybe this book? And then Scaramucci is like, what about a smaller book? And it's still, so I think what we're doing is sometimes the maximalist thing about this is our club and you don't understand is hurting the overall adoption rate. But I do really believe, and also thank you to everybody who's saying all these funny things on the chat. I love each and every one of you except for melancholy. A tether is a path to CBDC. Stop using so many goddamn acronyms. You know, about sort of bullish on Bitcoin, I'll jump because I have a brain injury and I'm going all over the place, which Mike has had to deal with before. Here's how bullish I am on Bitcoin. Okay, I have told everyone around me, some of them who I've sent Bitcoin to, trying to figure out some way to. One of my big maxims right now is you never sell Bitcoin unless it's going to change your life. And that change can be, I can finally own a car instead of lease it. I can buy this thing for my mother. Now it's going to be possible to have kids. That is the only time you should sell Bitcoin, because that's what Bitcoin is for, right? You can say it's digital capital. You can say it's generational wealth. You can say all of those things, and I'm not going to disagree, okay? But for me, Bitcoin is hope also means Bitcoin can change, right? And it can change your life. And that's when you should think about spending it. If you're not in that moment in your life, then do everything. I've had so many conversations with my business managers where I'm like, what can I do to not sell Bitcoin this year? And you can feel that he doesn't own any Bitcoin. And so you can feel that when he's like, well, I mean, yeah, of course that's the focus, but you know, it might be something that has to happen. I'm like, you don't get it. If you got it, then you would be saying to me, I know, I feel the same way. I don't want to sell any of my Bitcoin. So all of this is to say, I'm bullish in a way that I say, do not, and it's not just the 100K. It's not just we've been proven. Did I cry when we got to the new all-time high in the 70s? Yes, of course, because my parents thought I was a loser for a good 2 years. Exactly. Right. Mike knows it. Back to front and front to back. That was a big, big moment. But I think all it's done is remind all of us that, like, yes, we were right, but the philosophy, not the numbers, drives the bullish case.
Yeah.
Well, look, okay. And I think it's great to have TJ here, because I think the important thing is, what I think is unique here is TJ's here. We're talking about mainstream culture that now is looking at having that conversation about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is cool. Bitcoin is different, right? The fact that Trump, let's be honest, Trump only liked Bitcoin because it was counterculture and he knew that there was an audience that he could get to. And we are now having the fact that, you know, Guy, I think half of the world probably started learning about Bitcoin because they listened to your Audible. Because, you know, I'm dyslexic, so I'm not reading. But, you know, I'm like listening to what you said to hear everything. And so there's so many people that heard through you, BT Sessions. You've taught everyone how to put on a hardware wallet. You know, we all know that hopefully someday it's a big scam and you've been able to steal everyone's Bitcoin, but you've taught so many people how to put that, that Bitcoin there. And I look at TJ, I'm like, the truth is, whether we like it or not, and I have no idea what to be an actor, but your character in Silicon Valley was literally the person who protected all the nerdy autists, right? Like you were the person who sat there and said, defended all those people. So to see you kind of come into this space, we're like, that was everyone's hero. We were all like, that was our hero. Everyone else didn't fucking understand it. We're like, that's the guy we wanted. We wanted him in our startup. We wanted him in our mission. So the fact is, Michael Saylor even having conversation with you, because every time Michael Saylor talks to me, he yells at me for fucking a straight hour. So like, I'm happy that he's like having a nice cordial conversation with you. But I think that the mainstream part of this is important, right? And look, we want to think it's like when a band becomes popular, right? Like a band becomes popular and everyone's, fans of it early on go, I don't want it to be popular. I want it to be my band. No. Bitcoin's about to be popular to the whole world, right? And this is kind of a turning point. We might not like it. A lot of us wish Bitcoin was but we have this cute community, but the government's talking about it. Kings all over the world are talking about it. The news is talking about it. Let's look at, Trump. And once again, that's why I'm joining PubKey, because I believe in the cultural revolution of what's happening here. But when you're seeing what's actually happening, you're seeing that Bitcoin is part of the conversation. Look at the Google search results of people who are now talking about it. It's unavoidable. That's why I'm bullish, because it's now entered the mainstream. The same way this is like what happened to skateboarding. They're like, oh, no one gives a shit about skateboarding or snowboarding, right? Like this is the same thing that's now happened. And like I said, my time at Vice, I could see when counterculture things are becoming mainstream. And the difference is this is money. So it's a lot different. It's not about like you getting too old to not skateboard anymore. You're always gonna be like, as you get older, you're like, I would like to keep having some more money. So I think that we're now hitting this mainstream culture moment for Bitcoin. And that's why, to me, it's kind of special that TJ's here.
Nice. I like it. Oh shit, TJ, hold on. Go ahead.
I will say this. Now I tweeted the link to be a guest. Now I tweeted the link to watch.
There's a dude named Jason backstage because you tweeted.
You never know. You never know if Sessions going to bring him on.
I might bring Jason on at some point just to say hi.
Let's wait. He can hang.
Yeah.
So first of all, Mike, it's interesting you say that because I haven't been able to have this conversation they just brought up with a lot of people. And congratulations on PubKey. I can't wait to hear how you feel about them once they rug you for money. And that's okay. I mean, when you don't have ethics, then you buy a dive bar in a neighborhood.
I look forward to
in a neighborhood that's not particularly excited about your affiliation to Donald Trump. So we'll talk about that never again. Here's what I will say. I am very surprised, and I did bring this up to Saylor, who mentioned, Mike, that he's really, really upset with you. I'm fucking with you, not at all.
No,
not even a little bit. No, not even a little bit. So I did mention, I agree, right? We're getting close to the mainstream. But what I said, and I think this is really, really, really true, is that we all are in this echo chamber. And I don't know that Saylor necessarily agrees, but I do feel like all of us will do this very strange dichotomy, which is we'll say, well, it's still early. You're still early. There's only 1% adoption, right, that's happening. And we tell people, you think $100,000 is a lot, you can still get in early, right? But we're surrounded by people that are all Bitcoiners. So we don't really, there's this cognitive dissonance that I have found through field research. I'll go to Appleton, Wisconsin, Irvine, California, Grand Rapids, Michigan, all these places. And then as a stand-up comic, right, which is why I'm there, I'll say, who here owns cryptocurrency? And I'm not joking, guys. I said this to Saylor today. Who here owns cryptocurrency? Nothing. No applause, nothing. Then I go, does anybody here own Bitcoin? No one here owns Bitcoin? Nothing. I'm not joking. Hundreds, thousands of people over the course of these tours. Tens of thousands. Nothing. Then I'll say, none of you have any crypto. And then occasionally, some fucking white guys will be like, well, I have some cryptocurrency. And I'm like, okay, cool. What is it? Do you have Bitcoin? Do you have Ethereum? What do you have? And I'm not joking. Some of them will go, I don't remember. I'm like, what? I'm like, you own meme coins that you can't remember? I'm like, oh, that happens to me a lot also. I lose money in my house and I'm like, I'll find it someday or who cares? So making it mainstream, we've also been tricked by the ETFs because we go, oh, BlackRock, look at all the inflows, all that stuff that we read, right? We all read that stuff. We're like, yeah, right. Look, these guys are whales in fintech. They're people that are huge. The money coming in and out is not this reflective of this huge mainstream adoption. That being said, Mike, I agree, especially about this. Now people can't brush it off. And we've thought this before, though. I will say, we have thought this before. All of us have been like, I mean, I remember when I was like, 25 grand, that's it. We did it. No one will laugh at us again. And they did. So, you know, 100 grand, I get it. But now that it's bounced, I had this great moment with this guy that I'm doing a film with. He's this brilliant producer. He produced Ted. He's Seth MacFarlane's guy, and he's very smart. But I told him a long time ago, buy Bitcoin. He's like, I think I kind of, you know, I missed the boat on that one. I did my whole thing. No, you didn't. Here's why, etc. Then I met him after 100K, right? Like, after that happened. And I go, you see, man, you should get Bitcoin. Now's the time. And he goes, Bitcoin? I mean, after this crash?
But,
and I go, whoa. I go, whoa. What? Sorry to interrupt, Mike, but I go, what? And he goes, well, I mean, now it's totally crashed. What is it, down to 94,000? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you fucking insane? What are you talking about?
Oh my God.
Here we have the least amount of volatility that we've ever had in our entire life, and you're telling me about this crash. I think I fumed and was like, TJ, don't talk to him. Don't talk to him. So, Mike, say what you're gonna say. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like, is the thing that keeps me going. When it mainstream, not at all.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. The weird thing is, and once again, I was in New York media over at Vice and did lots of cool stuff. Everyone I know who should have been on the inside, should have known what was cool, should have known what was going on, for whatever reason, because they didn't buy it, whatever, they've blown off Bitcoin. So all the right people who should have been adopting it, now that it's like the price is too high, they don't want to get involved, right? So this really is still an outsider group that's embracing it, when actually the real powerful people and these people who have, you know, who can really move things, they are now dabbling in some shitty meme coin, or they're looking at like NFTs or something like that. And in reality, they're mad at themselves for like missing out on Bitcoin. Once again, I was at Vice. We used to write about Bitcoin, be like, this is how you buy drugs, because it was a great place to buy drugs. And thank God Ross was free. But like, you know, like we used to write about it then. And now if you look at, you know, once I went over to the Bitcoin conference, the first Vice article was like, they don't have masks and cards. And it was really fucking lame, you know, and they were not as cool about it. But there's a whole group of people who felt like they missed out on Bitcoin that were the mainstream. But I really think it's now unavoidable. Like now if we're looking at who's actually talking about Bitcoin. And that's why, once again, TJ, I appreciate you and other folks that are sitting there saying, this makes sense, right? Like, because there's a lot of people who do it. And it's not just having a MicroStrategy stock in your portfolio, right? We want to be like, cool, you can have that because it's your 401k or whatever your your financial manager's okay with it because they have to have it. But like the truth is, like, own some fucking Bitcoin yourself.
Yeah. So I want to throw in a little bit here, just because I think there's a perspective that's important for both. It's not mainstream and it is mainstream. And I think, and this was actually my reason for being bullish that I never even got to, is there are a couple of different mental shifts that happen when you kind of submit to a new reality, to a new shift in a technological shift, or the new reality of, you know, the media landscape. The internet has had numerous of these major shifts in, you know, the capitulation of the music industry and selling songs individually on iTunes and that sort of thing. And the more, everybody's always waiting for it to be mainstream and everybody loves it and everybody thinks it's the greatest thing. And I think that's kind of a red herring on, like, it doesn't really matter whether or not it's the big thing. In fact, it's only really during the hype cycles and there's a bunch of green candles that everybody cares about it, or it's like the most important thing, and they get their fingernails painted with Bitcoin symbols and all their other favorite shit coins on
You
it.
leave Katy Perry alone.
Yeah.
I did a French manicure orange. Yep.
It's the good one. It's the good one. The shift that is far deeper and more important, that I think is the Rubicon we have crossed very recently, is the capitulation of the people who utterly hate Bitcoin.
Yes.
Is the fact that they are hedging how they talk about it.
Mhm.
Even Peter Schiff has now tweeted, "I don't even know how long this can go on." He's admitting that it might not die.
It's forever,
And
Peter.
when it is
That is
set-
crazy, dude.
when it is set in the general
crazy.
psyche that it's probably just never going away, it totally shifts the conversation. It shifts the mindset. It shifts the conversation about investment. We still only have one company in the S&P 500 that even cares.
Mhm.
And that's the beginning. That's when the door opens. And also thinking about like the idea of it going mainstream, like it will never be done going mainstream either. In the same way that like the internet's not going to like stop growing. Like it's just the global network for communication, and it will continue to eat the whole world. Bitcoin will be the global network for economic trade and monetary value, and it will continue to eat the whole world. We just got to the point that everybody is beginning to realize that those websites actually mean something. And the reason that those stocks are going up is because the internet is actually a big thing. And maybe I should actually have a plan.
Mhm.
And that's where I think we are. And that's why I think 700,000, 1.5 million in 2030. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just going to continue to grow, and it will become the most important monetary network on the planet. And then it will continue to grow because it will just spread into the rest of the world. So
I love it. I'm going to pause everybody right here. We're going to go to a quick break for 1 minute. But every time somebody on the show mentions Peter Schiff, I must bring up my framed tweet from Peter Schiff.
it's so good.
Of course. Why wouldn't you? You have to. It is that.
So I'm just going to recite it one more time because, again, like a fine wine, it is aging beautifully. It has not yet hit the peak, but you'll see. This was tweeted on January 6th of 2020. Peter Schiff said, "For those Bitcoin bugs excited about Bitcoin's 4% rally in 2020, think about this.
Fuck.
Hashtag gold is also up by about the same percentage this year, only with significantly less downside risk. Is this the best rally Bitcoin can muster? How will it ever hit 50K, let alone 1 million? This thing is going to age so beautifully on my shelf. We are going to be back in 1 minute.
So good.
And
I'm going to refill.
yes. Yes, I'm going, TJ, I'm going to you next after the quick break here.
Yeah, because I have 50 things, like what Guy just said. I have like 50 thoughts about that, and I just continue. I'm like intoxicated by Mike's hair. I don't know what's going on with it.
It looks
It's
good
not getting
tonight,
worse.
man.
It's not getting better. I'm scared by your
Fake.
assumptions. All right.
Hey, this shit's
Let's
not
do it.
real.
I love it. Okay, gents, we will be back in 1 minute. Quick shout out to our sponsors. Also, everybody who has a Lightning wallet handy, we're going to give away some sats really quick when we get back. So we'll see you guys in just a sec. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTCsessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions. Are you ready to level up your Bitcoin mining game? Mining Disrupt is the world's largest Bitcoin mining conference and expo, and it's happening March 25th through 27th, 2025 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Network with industry leaders, discover cutting-edge hardware, and gain insights from world-class speakers. Plus, enjoy exclusive events like the Cigar Lounge and pre-party for meaningful connections. I'll be there, and I'd love to see you. Use the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen right now to receive 20% off your tickets. Don't miss out. DEBIFI is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multisig escrow where you hold a key, and the platform allows for excellent hardware like the Cold Card Mark IV and the Q. You have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to debify.com to check them out, or simply scan. All right, we are back in, and we are going to first give away some sats, and then we got something funny in a sec here. Hey, if anybody's going to be down in the Fort Lauderdale area in and around March 25th through 27th, then make sure you do swing by Mining Disrupt. I will be there. There's a QR code on the screen for 20% off your tickets if you would like to check it out. But we're going to give away some sats really quick. This is Bitcoin Well up on the screen. The way it works is when you sign up, when you buy Bitcoin, when you refer friends, you earn points, and then you can use those points to toss them in the Bitcoin wishing well. Every time you do, you have a chance to win up to 1 million sats. So all you need is a Lightning wallet right now, and the first person to scan the QR code that will pop up in the browser window is going to steal the sats from everybody else. So I'm going to do that right now, and whoever grabs it first gets them. So let's see. 2,100 sats. Whoever scans that first will snag it from everybody else. Just for good measure, I'll make it nice and big there for a sec. And if you do grab the sats, make sure you let us know in the comments or in the chat, wherever you're watching this. Love to hear it. Now, I do have to say something really quick. As we're doing the show here, as we're doing
God damn it!
Yeah, you got rugs, TJ. Also, TJ inadvertently
again.
TJ tweeted out the backstage link to the fucking show.
You gotta do it. Why wouldn't you do it?
and so we have some dude here, and I was like, I'm in the private chat here being like, who the fuck is Jason and why is he backstage? And so against my better judgment right now, I'm about to let him on stage. He gets 1 minute to say whatever he wants. I think he has a baby with him right now, so I better watch my mouth.
But I'm getting rid of this. I'm deleting that tweet.
Is it still up? Oh my god. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to let him up here. And we're just gonna let Jason. You're gonna have 1 minute to do as you please. We'll see if this was a good idea or not. But Jason, welcome. How you doing, man?
This is a great idea.
This is not. I heard you guys say Jason earlier. I'm like, there's no way they're fucking talking about me. Yeah. It was TJ's tweet. I literally saw him. Like, I'll listen in. So yeah, I got a baby with me, I guess.
Well, we're bullish about that. Why are you bullish, Jason?
Yeah.
Why am I bullish?
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm bullish. I'm going to your show. I'm supposed to go to your show in March, TJ. I'm actually in Cincinnati. You pushed it to October or something.
I had to. Are you a Bitcoiner?
My Bitcoiner? Yeah.
Why are you? I can't wait to see you at the show. But you're on sessions. Tell us, like, why? What are you bullish about in terms of Bitcoin right now?
I guess here's a fun fact. You guys know that that Resign email, they sent out the OPM for all the government employees.
Yeah.
I'm a government employee. I responded to that 2 nights ago. I'm actually resigning from it. Yeah.
Really?
Wait, you take the 8 months and the 8 months pay?
We don't really know if that's going to be allowed or not. There's still a lot of nebulous going on, but just figured, it's worth popping out and seeing what's in the private sector, and got a little one, so may as well, build a better future. Which is to your thing, like why bullish on Bitcoin? I think it's honestly just building a better future and growing. So that's all I got.
Jason,
that is the cutest little bullish baby I've ever even imagined.
This was a great decision.
That's great. And then Mike brings in. I also am bullish and have.
I just thought we were bringing kids. You got get fired from your government job.
Oh yeah.
Get out of here. Sorry.
Awesome. Jason, thank you for popping in.
Man, that's a great sentiment.
Yeah, I love it. Take that money, take that time, find something in the private sector, and bearish on government jobs, bullish on
DCA as much of that as you can.
Yeah.
Sure.
Jason, what are you best at? This is a pitch for your job right now.
There you go.
What am I best at? You guys caught me in the middle of deploying a Google Cloud instance. I'm actually starting my own company.
Yeah, what's the name of it?
What? Fuck, I'm not ready for that yet.
Jason, what's your Twitter
He
handle?
just started today, literally. We
just started today. Jason Adkey, AD, right? I think it's, hold on. Jadkey 2009. Is that me? Jadkey, JADKI 2009 Yeah, I'll probably be. Right hell yeah, appreciate it, man.
It sounds like an automatic college email address. So it's like,
it would be like divine to see something amazing come of this. So Jason, thanks for randomly clicking to Dave Miller's.
Say it one more time. Do your handle one more time.
You want me to do it like with mnemonics? It's Juliet, Alpha, Delta, Kilo, India, 2009.
I love it. Jason,
all right, thank you.
Have a wonderful night. Thanks for being in. Congrats on what looks like to be a relatively new baby, and build that family, stack those sats, and I'm bullish on the future for families.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. All right. We're into
That's so fun.
That was awesome. It's funny how stuff like that pans out. But TJ, I'm gonna go to you. I'm just gonna pause at the same question that everybody gets, but why are you bullish? What's exciting in and around Bitcoin for you right now?
Well, I think it was really interesting to hear guys say, and this is kind of true. It's like, well, it may never be the mainstream thing, but how many people own gold? You know, I mean, in any capacity, right? How many people own 18-karat Cuban links? How many people have a significant position in gold? How many people are diversifying their portfolio in precious metals by also owning silver? You know, these are not things that they're a huge part of our financial ecosystem, but they're not mainstream in a way that, you know, kind of just what Guy was saying, right? And I think what's really weird is like, it's been very difficult, I think, for at least some Bitcoiners to kind of go, what bizarro world are we living in where Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and deep down in my orange heart, I'm like, oh, thank God, you know? Like that's such a difficult, I guess, reality to kind of live within. And I'm not political. I'm a positive nihilist. I think that none of this really means anything, but if nothing means anything, then anything can mean everything. And that's another podcast that no one wants to listen to. But I think the idea of a Bitcoin strategic reserve, there's a weird moment for all of us where we're like, we love clicking the thumbnail that says 250 by Q3. Oh my God, it's 2031. Kathy Wood. And I'm going to keep saying this because I actually think it's kind of important. I'm friends with Ophelia Branco because my wife is very good friends with her mother. So, and Lavinia. And Lavinia was the one that brought Bitcoin to Ophelia, and Kathy Woods is a person, like, these are very important people. And when I talk to them, even they don't want to say like, well, $1 million Bitcoin I get the bearish, bullish case. We're all used to hearing that. But I think we really, each of us, every single one of us, when we heard just the idea of Trump being like, I don't know, I'm a fucking idiot, but this sounds great. And then doing it, and then China being like, wait a second, could this be the one way they could get ahead of us? And then Russia being like, boo-hoo, we have terrible weather and our land is worthless, but we steal money, so we could do the, you know, the PubQ global. You guys know what I'm trying to do here. Everybody knows what I'm trying to do here. I'm upset. So, jokes aside, when that happened, when that paused, then all of us were like, well, wait a second, that is $1 million Bitcoin. You know, if we take that much off and however much has been lost, like, that's really fucking weird. And when that happens, then the conversation is completely over. If we, you know, we go, oh, 100K. I mean, if we really ascended to like $1 million Bitcoin, then everybody has to learn about it, has to decide how the fuck they can just buy sats a little bit at a time. So that, to me, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I want it to. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It could. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But yeah, that's a pretty big reason to be bullish, just in the sense that, like, and I think the other reason that I'm a little bit bullish is I think it's almost like the understanding of the tech has caught up to the fact that it's not a Ponzi scheme, sort of. Here, okay, let me bring it into TJ Miller, Erlich Bachman from Silicon Valley, right? Which I just am so pleased that ever happened. I'm just so happy about it. Mike Judge,
I just gotta say, Silicon Valley is fun as shit. I love that show, and you were great in it,
man. Well, yeah, look at you, guy. I mean, you couldn't be more high right now. So, you know, from my perspective, Mike Judge and I did this movie called Extract, and on that film, I really came to a realization of, like, this guy's a fucking futurist, just like Saylor, just like the Winklevoss twins. But I really did think this guy sees the future, and it's important to him. Not just that, it's important to him. It's important for him to represent it earlier on than when it happens. And Silicon Valley, I'm telling you, when we were doing the pilot, everything, all of us were like, this is never going to get picked up. There's just not a fucking chance. And people would say to me, oh, really? Why? I go, because nobody gives a shit about Silicon Valley. There's a Hulu show called Betas or something. That didn't work. And I was like, it's not relevant. Silicon Valley is not relevant. And Mike Judge was like, no, this is like controlling America. And people don't see it right now, but they will in a year or two. And he hit it perfectly. And it exploded. And the even stranger thing was I had hit upon a type of, like, an archetype of Silicon Valley, which was this guy who was thought he belonged there, knew that he didn't, was like, I'm along for the ride, but also you can't take this ride without me. I'm high all of the time because I can be. Confidence is the real currency in Silicon Valley, which is true as well. And deepest down, I think the thing that it connected the most with is I'm really insecure because I don't know really how I got here. I don't know if I fit in here. I want to make a difference. Everyone around me is saying that I can help change the world, break things fast. Disruption keeps being said, all of that, right? And I think that culture is starting to catch up with what Bitcoin really is. So I know there's going to be another bear market. I know that I'm going to go, why did I think it would never get lower than 100,000? I'm a fool, right? But I also know that we're getting closer and closer to just sort of saying, like, Guy, you kind of said it better than I can. It's here to stay. And hopefully every day people are less like, I got in too late, and more like I have this great opportunity. My life's work with respect to BTC is sort of figuring out, like, how do I make this cool? How do I make people not think they were late to the party? Right. And how do I espouse and say, fuck getting rich, right? Even fuck blockchain or whatever. Get with the philosophy. Understand the philosophy. Get behind the philosophy because it's meaningful. Dollars clearly aren't. So if you're here to get rich, then I'm here to tell you there's something bigger than this. There's something more meaningful than this.
I like
and
that.
Thank you for toning it down for a second, Miami. Fucking goddamn. I mean, Cuban sandwiches aren't even that good. So yeah. So that's sort of my big idea of this is why I'm bullish, because I think it goes beyond cycles, beyond all of that.
Yeah.
Now, you guys, it's interesting. Now I can feel even after I just said that. Now everyone is like, "Oh shit, he's real. This is real."
Yeah.
It
I
it's
love
fucking
that.
real.
That was great. So a few things I want to tag on that you said there. So just that last sentiment. Well, actually, I'll take it back earlier. You were talking about how if you guys could see.
You can stop and go get a towel. We'll stop for a second. It's all good, man.
I'm like,
No
I just want
judgment.
to say to all the
This
viewers,
is
the
safe
backstage is a
space.
lot
This
more
is
fun.
safe.
The backstage is a lot more
Yeah, the
fun than
backstage.
whatever you're watching.
Yeah, you
So
can-
Backstage is fun. Backstage is fun. I'm
they
muting
can
myself.
hear you typing because it's so obnoxiously loud. But if you could hear the words that were being typed, like we would be immediately banned from YouTube. But nonetheless, TJ, I want to touch on a couple of things. You were talking about how, like, okay, well, there's all types of people that are kind of coming into this, and they're almost like forced to. They have to realize, even the people that hated it are being careful, and they're starting to either be careful about it or capitulate. And I'm kind of, again, some of the people that are coming into Bitcoin, I think to myself, like, I'm not a fan of this person or that person, the other thing. But that's kind of the point of Bitcoin. It's money for enemies, and so I'm brought back to and I'm paraphrasing somebody that I consider to be a mentor of myself. That I look up to him quite a bit. But Jeff Booth, he was in El Salvador, and he was talking to people there that were very, very skeptical of kind of this embrace of Bitcoin. And so he was asked, what's the worst thing about Bitcoin? And so his answer ended up being something along the lines of, the worst part about Bitcoin is that you have to be okay with the fact that you're somebody that you completely disagree with, that you may hate, them using it and them being able to use it makes it better and stronger for you. And that's a hard thing to grapple with when something that is doing well for you that can benefit you a lot also benefits somebody that you really, really disagree with. That's a hard thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's kind of the Trump thing, I think, right now. Is we're in a weird place where it's like, I don't, again, have a lot of politics, but let's say you fucking hate that guy, but he's making it possible for disenfranchised people to, like, Kate keeps coming back to over and over again. Looks great, Mike. Keeps coming back to over and over again. Look, if a woman in Saudi Arabia can concentrate her wealth into a key that she can take across the border and start a new life, she's like, then we got to make a lot of ethical concessions. I think that's a really interesting point for sure. Yeah. And I'll bring up a story. I know I've been teasing them, but like the crew at PubKey said something really interesting once. Specifically, Daniel said, I prefer it when it's a bear market. And this was right after the all-time high in the 70s. And I was like, what are you talking about? We did it. We're right. We were right. And they're like, no, because now everyone hates us. Because it's easier for people to be like, I told you, fucking idiot. You were telling me to buy Bitcoin. Now look at you, dipshit. It's crashed down to fucking 20, whatever. And I had never thought about that. That was almost a paradigm shift. But I think it was really indicative of, and specifically, Daniel had just this great way of putting it. It's really indicative of, like, these people can hate on me, but I love them and I want them to own Bitcoin. I want them to be part of this, not on this ride, I just want them to know that I love them and that's why I want them to have Bitcoin. And so there is a lot of, again, cognitive dissonance, you know, with this will do something good for a person that I don't like, disagree with, whatever. But if that is the crew, if that's who all of us are, and I know that we are, because otherwise we wouldn't go so hard, you know, on all of this. If that's who we are, then that's another reason to be bullish, because it means that the people behind the dissemination of this idea, this thing, this new frontier, this new type of fire, financial fire is what I've been calling it, are pretty good people. I'll go ahead and say that all of us care about this thing for more than just getting rich, you know? And that's the other thing that I sometimes tell people. They're like, oh, well,
but
you
it's
know,
a
you got
lifestyle
rich
brand.
off of the...
Bitcoin is a lifestyle brand. It's a community that you feel like you can disagree with. And that's the base. Now, Bitcoin is now this kind of cultural base that we can get together with. I enjoy being with other Bitcoiners, right? Like this is the baseball team. This is the sports team we all kind of globally cheer for. You can be with anybody. And there's a good conversation there. You can completely disagree with them. And I agree. The Trump thing makes it interesting, right? For better, for worse. Because once again, Trump called it, Trump called it a Ponzi scheme, right? We spent 8 months trying to sit there and orange pill the guy, right? And I'll be blunt. Did we do it because even if he lost, I wanted that whole base to then want to adopt Bitcoin the same way that Ron Paul, there we go, baby. The same way that Ron Paul created a whole bunch of Bitcoiners that were upset he didn't win in 2012 and they were like, fuck the Fed, you know, like I believe in this. If Trump lost, I want people like, yeah, you're right. Kamal's going to, you know, destroy the dollar. So you should buy some prepper food, ammo, and Bitcoin, right? Like there was that side of it, you know, him winning. It's not like, let's go all Republican. I'm like, I want to make sure big Democrats, and there's great Democrats that care about that. There's on the other side, when I'm saying Bitcoin's supposed to be for everyone. It's not supposed to be a political thing. It's not supposed to be all these things. And like I said, Russia, the worst part, and I'm real bullish on Bitcoin, is the truth is once the America gets like
that's what's happening. It's happening.
Russia's pissed. Look, I don't want to say who we were, but once we said to Trump, China has a lot of Bitcoin, he's like, I need to have lots of Bitcoin. Can't have China have Bitcoin. It's like that's gonna be the arms.
That's a great impression. That was a great impression.
It was a shitty impression, but that's what's gonna happen because all of them are gonna compete because they actually are in competition with Bitcoiners in reality. We'll sit back and watch that, you know, watch them compete. But there is something nice that Bitcoin is now this social club, right? It's now this thing where you enjoy being around other Bitcoiners. There's this something that's vested in kind of the experience. So that's why we're very happy, TJ. You're one of us. Even when you're in Miami.
Fucking piece of shit. I think you're 100% right.
The majestic sound of Miami ringing out behind you.
I'm gonna say this because then we gotta. I know, Guy. It seems like I apologize, but somebody said, you know, Yellow said, donate 3 Bitcoin for the rest of the story. A lot of people don't know this about me, and this is when you find out how maximalist I am, in part because my goddamn wife is forcing me to. I think the most interesting thing about Bitcoin is the philosophy, about the truth of it, about the future of it, about what it means, about our moment in history to be a part of it. And that's why it's like, I don't own any Bitcoin. A lot of people find out, when they find that out, they can't believe it. And they're like, why the fuck? Well, it's like, because I'm not really interested in that. I was in the Emoji Movie. I have a fair amount of terrible, useless fiat. But I love the moment when it hits 100K. I'm invited to the New Year's Eve party to irritate Mike on a live stream. Okay. I love that because everyone's like, I mean, isn't this fucking great? And I'm like, yes, it is. I mean, I don't have $100,000 now because I have no Bitcoin at all. So it's a fascinating thing to me because what you're saying about the social club is true, but it's the opposite of Groucho Marx. He says, I don't want to be a part of any club that would have me as a member. And Bitcoin is the opposite. All right, Guy, I'm sorry. I'm jealous of your hat, so I have to wear this one.
This is my one go-to when my hair looks like crap and it's the end of the day.
I love it.
I refuse hats. Fuck you guys. Everybody's got hats. I'm not covering up this beautiful.
Yeah, of course.
Glorious stack of hats. But my machine over here has been churning away all day, so it's hot as ass in my room, and so I've like had the windows open, so now I'm cold. So the idea of like I'll mirror or reinstate what the pub key guy said, is that bear markets are so much better, and it's not even just
Daniel's right on that.
It's not even just because like, you know, everybody hates you during the bull market or like thinks you're important or whatever. It's that, you know, TJ, you talked about like this is a philosophy. Well, everybody in the bull market, suddenly you're having to filter through 20 people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about and have no idea what the philosophy is to find the one person who does. After the big red candles come and punch everybody squarely in the nuts, well, then all the people who are just here chasing green candles go away. And everybody who is left understands the philosophy. They understand why you're here. They understand, or they're very, very interested in learning because they realize that they were out of their depth and they were standing in the shallows and they want to discover more. They want to understand more. So the bear markets are 100% where the culture is, like where the actual community is and where the actual building is. Bull markets are fun because it's like, oh shit, we were right all of this time where it was painful. But that's basically the limit of where it's fun. Everything else about it pretty much sucks.
Yeah.
It's like the Chicago Bulls, Chicago Bears. Chicago Bulls are winning. Everyone loves them. The Chicago Bears suck, but they have a great fan base. The team won't do it, and they suck, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Bitcoin is the sports team. You want to, you know, it gets smaller when it's the bear market, but that's where the fun stuff happens. And the problem is, how can we get more bull market people like Scottie Pippen trying to sell silly game 5 ball? How do we get more of these bull market people? Dude, Captain Drunk, or Captain Dunk, like, you know, TJ, when are you and, you know, Scottie Pippen going to get together with the, you know?
I'm gonna say it again. It literally, Michael Saylor brought it up and was like, but he really did. He was kind of like, and Scottie Pippen is trying to sell this ball and tokenize it, and then he said all the things that he said. But it's like, it is weird. I always think about this. Why am I really the only person from Hollywood that like is passionate about this, understands it, loves it? I don't necessarily know why that's the case.
Because, like, truthfully, so look, Bitcoin gets really excited. Once again, we're excited that Scottie Pippen is pitching the fact that maybe he held on to a ball and is trying to tokenize it and tweets about like having dreams about Satoshi. That's weird. Any other industry like that's dumb, right? But we're like, Bitcoiners are starved for kind of a little bit of that mainstream attention. But truthfully, you've been a contrarian, and I can't stress this enough. Silicon Valley spoke to a lot of us, right? We saw a lot of characters that we saw, and you were the person that, you know, your character, and I understand it's totally different, but you were the character that said things that every Bitcoiner wish they could say to the prick that they want. So, like, that's why we look at you going, wow, that's fun, that's interesting. So for you to actually organically be interested in this is exciting to us. So the problem is maybe we graft your personality in a show to that. But the truth is, we all wish we could say that to the person, and you did a great job. And by the way, you're a great character. You filmed great. You should have had, you know, a Golden Globe or whatever. But that's
I got a Critics' Choice. I'll take it. No, but I see what you mean. I see what you're saying, and I think I don't know really what to say about this or how to say it, but I think there is, people can tell when I talk, there's an authenticity to what I'm talking about. So I'm contrarian, I'm controversial, whatever. But when I talk, and when I met you guys, and Guy, I don't think I can get into your room because there's so much marijuana smoke. But I do think what I've loved about being in any Bitcoin communal space, right? Whether it be whatever. There's an authenticity and there's a real feeling that all of us are like, no, everyone else is laughing at us, you know? And I wish that there was a way to tell people, come into our world and you're going to get laughed at, but we're right. And we're not inviting you into this for any other reason except for we want you to be a part of it. And that, again, I'll keep bringing it back. That, again, is why I am bullish. Because I think the meme coin culture right now, And I've got an AI project that I'm talking, and these guys, they've got sound tech. They're excited about it. They understand what narrative I would want to do and why I'm excited about the space, all that. And I kind of still, yeah. But see, is that good? Like fucking.
Hey, no.
Has a thing
I
that
did not.
says, you
My
should
uncle,
listen, like,
my
I
uncle,
don't
who
know,
has
man.
been giving me shit about this for more than a decade, bought me that this Christmas.
Okay.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
Okay.
It was
That's
not.
very
It's
cool.
not me
That's
bragging.
very cool. That's
It is
very
my
cool.
uncle
It is.
being like, "Okay,
You're right.
Shit.
all right, guy,
You're right.
hat tip
So-
to you, sir. You win
So
this one."
again, within this, it's like I am bullish because I think deep down we do love that. Like all of us are applauding that for sure. It's nice to hear people be like, foot and mouth. I should, whatever. But I'm bullish because I think the broader swath or however it is of all of us, our hearts are in the right place. There's an authenticity to it, and that's not going to backfire. That's only going to grow the space. And so I know, and am I sitting here going, $1 million Bitcoin by 2031? If I own some, then that would change my life. Yeah, of course, everybody is. But I think it doesn't matter. Like there have been people who say, I heard this recently. It was again, Ed MicroStrategy, soon to be. It's like, this is, Bitcoin doesn't care. It wants everybody to own it. It wants everybody to be involved. And I think Mike, now you're on to the next venture, but everybody is doing their part. If it's the magazine, if it's the YouTube channel, if it's the audio books, if it's the guy who no one understands why he's wearing this shirt or has been in Miami for 13 days, whatever it is, all of us, it's a communal effort, and that's going to work. And the only reason I know that it's going to work is because it has been.
Yeah. TJ, I want to, from what you're talking about here, there's a number of comments I want to highlight before we shift gears here. So number one, I just wanted to say in and around, you're talking about how, the right people are here because otherwise they wouldn't. And Guy, you were talking about this too, how like enduring, like, the bear market is where to be. But like the bear market and the bull market, both, there's this dichotomy to them where no matter where you are in that cycle, you're getting shit on by somebody. Right. And so when it's the bull market, it is people being like, it's a bubble, you're an idiot. It's also shitcoiners being like, look, my coin's going up faster than yours. I just 20x'd and Bitcoin is boomer tech. And then on the downside of it, you get to be like, like on the upside, you're like, yes, Bitcoin is much higher, but the speculative kind of gamblers are like, yeah, but my thing went higher faster. And then on the downside of it, you hear all of the people that completely dismiss Bitcoin saying, see, I told you it was going to crash. And, but then at the same time, you get to be like, yeah, but also the shit coins that I pointed out have also crashed much harder. But it's kind of like you're catching it on either side of the market from somebody. And so you kind of have to, it's almost like you're always right, but you're also always wrong in the eyes of somebody. And so but over the long term, you're right and you're right. But in the short term, you're always wrong to someone. And that's just, it's kind of like a shitty thing to like.
You're just upset that your father-in-law is still saying something. Like, I understand you're always wrong to someone, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. And I want to highlight again, like to the bear market thing. Watson in the chat says 2022 kicked my fucking ass, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And these are the real Bitcoiners that they sit through that shit and they see FTX blow up and they're self-custodying or maybe not, but learned a lesson and still persevered through it. And those are the real people. Those are the people that are like, I get this. I understand why it's important, and I'm going to fucking stick this out no matter what. Everybody assumed it'll never dip below the previous all-time high. Well, that idea got fucking wrecked. But the other side, on the other side of it, the idea of we don't hit a new all-time high until after the halving, that idea also got wrecked. So like Bitcoin is just great at disappointing whatever your expectation.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. I love the idea that, because if you want to talk about it in those terms, because Bitcoin is saying like, follow me now. See, I be rocking. So if you can't do the volatility, then jump ship, right? Yeah. If you really think that anyone can promise anything that is true and hardline, well, then you'd be a multi-millionaire right now.
Yeah.
But instead, again, it's like, this is a philosophy. Satoshi made this thing. It's going to be tested over and over again. I got a buddy who's not a buddy, but we have two twins. We're friends with the Winklevoss twins, and then there's these twins in Michigan. We call them Michigan twins. And they're ETH maxis. And they're both ETH heads, and they both retired. And one of them is like building his own coins, but they got on ETH when it was like $0, right? And it's a big part of why we took a position in Ethereum, because of other things too. But they right now are kind of like, I mean, I'm calling them after this because they're kind of like, what the fuck happened? We were tested by Solana, and maybe, I'm not going to go into that because this is a Bitcoin session, right? But Bitcoin is going to be tested over and over again. And you really have to believe and ride the volatility and the wave and deal with the people, the haters, the doubters, the skeptics, everything. You have to do that. And if you're willing to do that, then you'll reap the rewards. But to me, the interesting rewards are like internal. Obviously, I don't have any Bitcoin. But the real, it's internal that you're saying, I am going to have my father-in-law say, now I'm in Florida. I almost said the R word. Oh, no. But you're going to have your father-in-law kind of be like, you're a dumb fuck, right?
You can say retarded. It's fine.
And then when he gives, I got to go, guys. Thank you so much. This has been tough enough. No, but then when he gives you the glass that says you should have listened to me or whatever, you still have to go, I feel like in 8 months, you might kind of laugh behind my back at Thanksgiving because everything crashed again.
Yeah.
But, and I don't even use the word diamond hands. I love hodler for sure, but I just think it's less about like flexing to other people and more about being like, I know I'm right and I want you to be right.
Yeah.
I'd say hope that you can cash out on. And that's what I think. It's not about diamond hands, whatever. It's like, we believe this, right? And like, everyone says you're in a cult. I'm like, yeah, but I can cash out anytime, right? Yeah. Usually cults don't let you leave. So this is the one where I'm like, I'm in this and I can cash out at any time, but I believe it, right? It's not about diamond hands. You're right. It's not about 8 months. They're wanting to look at you and say,
yeah, I like that.
You're wrong, you were wrong, right? Like, cool, it's a cult. You're right. And I can cash out. But right now I'm still holding it.
I think about it, especially when I frame it to other people, because like that's been like a thing. It's like, oh, well, you went up a lot, aren't you going to sell? And my question is always, sell it for what?
Yeah,
like I bought it because of like, describe the characteristics of Bitcoin as an asset. Now describe any other asset that I could hold in its place. Like, sell it for what? Bitcoin is my cash out. Bitcoin is my way to get out of that. And in the context of like the people it rewards and why it changes the mindset, and also kind of going all the way back to a thread related to the idea of it going mainstream, is that volatility breeds conviction. Volatility breeds
that's conviction. A great, all right, I'm writing that down. I'm going to start saying that was my idea to say that.
And it rewards people who think long-term.
Yeah.
Everybody who has no idea why the hell they're here, and everybody who is worried about the fact that it crashed from $104,000, which is a fucking nothing move, or they're worried about what it's going to be next week, will get their asses handed to them over and over and over again until they have conviction and until they are thinking about it long term. Yeah. And what ends up happening, and what I think quote unquote mainstream will look like, won't be that like everybody loves Bitcoin or everybody gives a shit about economics. Like that's not Bitcoin going mainstream, because That's when something's normalized, nobody ever thinks about it like that. Literally, when something's normalized, people don't think about it at all. When we shifted from a gold to a fiat standard, you could see it because it happened kind of during our generations. You could see your grandmother and your grandfather and the fact that they saved and that they thought about things long term. They had a house that actually stood on its foundation, and then everybody else was 0% down, credit cards, like fast money. It was like it completely changed the mentality of what you're supposed to do. Nobody today has any savings. The idea of savings is ridiculous. Like, it's like, why would savings? No, I have a mortgage. I have a mortgage and I get equity in my home. It fundamentally changes how people think about value and decisions in their life. When Bitcoin goes mainstream, it will be when the average person thinks, well, I shouldn't do this because this is going to dip too much in my savings. I shouldn't do this because in 3 or 4 years, there's going to be a better opportunity. Obviously, I need to have savings. Obviously, I need to be thinking long term about where my finances are going, about my career, about what this is actually valuable, like what the value of this thing actually is to me, as opposed to the fact that, oh, it's just a higher number over here in this company than it is in this company. Like, that's what I think mainstream quote unquote Bitcoin is it realigns people thinking about the fact that Bitcoin is not the thing that's valuable. It's about doing something. It's about having the opportunity to think about your life in a sober position, like with actual economic signal that tells you what's worth actually involving yourself in and what you should avoid. And we have an economy right now where every price is a poisonous lie about what's worth it. And
which is why it's a lifestyle brand, right? So worst comes to worst, if Bitcoin crashes, you saved money, you thought about value and time differently, and I feel like you're better off for doing it, right? Like, and I feel like that's what you're trying to say is like you reframed your whole brain, you know, to what you're looking at value, and that's kind of this like little life hack that comes along with it, and I totally agree with you, and I appreciate it.
Can I say something just about, because I saw a moment with all four of us, and I see it all the time, okay, with Bitcoiners. There was a moment that as Guy was talking, everybody kind of was like, including you, Guy, was kind of like, I'll do it with this, right? And so what that is it's this really funny moment that all of us have. And I try to talk to Sailor about this today. It's a really funny moment where everyone's like, how are we going to do this? Because and what I think people should remind themselves is, if you have this once in a lifetime wheel fire level thing that you understand, but it's also your responsibility to kind of disseminate. I'm going to keep using that word over and over again because I just found out what it meant. It's like
reward of the day.
It's impossible. It's nearly impossible. And so, and I think that's another reason it's so interesting to me, for sure. But you are fighting the good fight, and yeah, to ask people to change their paradigm of what value is really, really difficult. You know, it would kind of be like saying, I don't know, morality isn't real or something like that, which is not true at all. But you're asking people to really change and reframe the way they think about stuff. So I think that's a really good point. But I think there's never going to be a point, maybe this has already been said, there's never going to be a point where people go, you were right, and mean it. And there's never going to be a price point where people say, oh, okay. It's just, that's not how it's going to happen. I think the moment, I really believe this, it's not when one coin is worth $5 million. It's when 5 million. Wow, watch this, man. How long have I been in Miami? Ready for this? It's not when one coin is worth $5 million. It's when 5 million people realize you can buy $1 worth of Bitcoin. And you should, because the dollar doesn't mean shit.
There you go.
That's a mic drop moment.
The comments don't know why, TJ, you don't have Bitcoin. So we need to figure out, is it because you're looking, like, I think you've confused a lot of people. Do we need to like work on a corporate sponsorship to get you to buy Bitcoin? Because we can figure that out.
He doesn't have Bitcoin because he can't take a second to think because those fuckers in the background won't shut up.
Yes,
so he can have
So much
is
noise.
enough. I can't hear myself think about buying Bitcoin.
So so once again, I just want to point that out because I've heard Ethereum bags. I was like, we could work on a corporate sponsorship that we can get you, some Bitcoin. I understand the purity, the monkness, and understanding not having Bitcoin and appreciating our culture and defending it. I appreciate that, but the chat, you once again, the chat now has no idea. Their heads have exploded to think that you would not have Bitcoin.
Guys, can anyone lend me some money? I'm in a bad place sexually, not financially, but sexually, I'm not in a great place. My wife is a Bitcoin maximalist and has 1,000 coins, and she won't let me in the front door. She changed the code. I thought it was a keyed entry. So I was trying to, maybe I broke the coded, but that's
She doesn't have sex with ETH heads.
So
she doesn't. It's locked out. Locked out if you own ETH.
Scott Ellis. Yeah, please loan it. Oh, okay. Here's the other thing. I forgot to mention this because I think this is interesting too. It's like one inflection point that we're reaching, which will be really interesting on a macro level, is the idea that you can loan against, you can take a loan, you can borrow against your Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what MicroStrategy is going to do. That's their whole business plan.
And thank goodness, because I think there is a component of this, which is to help people understand how valuable Bitcoin is and that we have to show it as an asset you can borrow against. So that's yet another reason to be bullish. I don't know when that's going to happen. Mike and Guy, and you guys are smarter than I am as to what strategy's long-term strategy is. But I think that's another thing where it's like, if I can go and legitimately say to my business management, I don't want to sell Bitcoin. And they're like, okay, then do you want to borrow? You have a credit, you have a line of credit against your traditional equity portfolio. Do you want to do that? And I'm able to say, we could do that, or we could do it against my Bitcoin holdings, which is zero. Those are possibilities. I think then that section of sort of traditional finance is kind of going like, okay, yeah, I guess this is more real than I even understood. So yet another reason to be bullish.
All the markets, they're all going into this. Like, here's the difference. We can talk about whether we like President Trump or not, but the fact is, because now we talk about being bullish, regulations for the U.S. government are now they're now not going to be as fucking Gensler sucked, right? We all know that, but they didn't know what they were doing. They're trying to actually be more clear about that. More companies are moving in. You're going to see the crypto companies moving back into the U.S., right? Banks, the fact that they lifted the ability to banks to accept crypto is massive.
Yeah,
right?
that's massive. All that SAB 121. Yeah,
the
that's
people that kick this out of all of our bank accounts for buying, on some other exchange. The fact that they're going to allow them to now start pushing banks. This is where the innovation is going to happen. This is when they're all going to start trying to provide crypto services. And the truth, unfortunately, is they're going to start buying up all these crypto companies because they're just going to, put those in their portfolio. But that's the part you should really be bullish on, was really not just about Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, was lifting all the laws against banks from actually adopting Bitcoin, right? Adopting crypto and Bitcoin. But that's really what works. That's what we should be excited about. And I had no idea what I was even talking about because I'm like, way too many roads.
No. I was just going to say, I agree with all that. And I feel like I was going to make a joke and be like, let's go around and say one reason we're bearish or whatever. But there doesn't let that be the work of the people that are naysayers. Let the work of what we're doing say to people like, and I will, just to make this point, Robert said ETH is dying on its own. And it's like, okay, great. Well, then there's plenty of reasons why we can say that. And I think it's scary that ETH might be another altcoin type of deal. but it's not. It's an ecosystem. We don't. But what I do like is Kay said we need to stop talking about Bitcoin and start talking about Satoshis. 99% of the people in the world cannot afford Bitcoin. They can't be a whole coiner, okay? But they can afford Sats. And then backstage, I forget his name because
Jason.
The one person I talked to is Yellow. So Yellow, just so you know, TJ, if you don't know Yellow, Yellow's saying don't stop believing for 1,000. I mean, how many straight days? 1,000 straight days. Like Yellow
is 1,100
all time. And he needs you to say, shut up, Yellow.
Pretty legend.
Yellow's extremely important to our community. So I just want to point out, he's in the chat. You can't talk about Kay, who has good points.
Oh, my bad. You're right. Because he's paying.
All right. Yellow's like, that's my Lord and Savior.
All right, here we go. So I was going to say, wait, put it back up. I was going to say, Yellow. Okay. Here you go. Keep talking, Yellow. You're a smart marionette. Did I do it right? I love, that's pretty quick, guys. Pretty quick. So, you say, I was backstage at BTC in Nashville, and there's this political guy, and I don't think it was cool, the politicization of Bitcoin. I don't think that's helped it be cooler. But I talked to this guy. He's super rich. He's an entrepreneur. I forget what he did or who he was. And I said to him, I was talking about everything we're talking about. I said, I tell people stack sats, and you want to just work towards getting a whole coin. That's if you can be a whole coiner, that's something to go for. Doesn't mean that it doesn't matter if you get there, but that's what we should all be doing, is building to have one coin. I don't have any Bitcoin, but we're trying. You should. And this fucking guy, I swear to you, this fucking guy goes, one coin? That's all they're gonna get? And I was like, what? And he goes, I mean, who wants like one coin? Like I have like a lot of coins. And I just realized I was like, you're in it for the wrong reason. You're in the wrong place. You're not talking to the right. Yeah. You're the wrong person to be talking to the right people who worked so hard to pay money that they wish was in Bitcoin to get to BTC Nashville, right? To hear you speak. And so I think that Kay is right. Yellow needs to just open up, talk, and remember that he's a brilliant marionette. But it's like we should be talking about Satoshis more than Bitcoin in some ways.
I did
one for the Chip Diamond sweater. That was really funny.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gert on chat on that one. It's really funny.
I actually did a video. I'm trying to remember. I think it was last cycle, like 2021. But I did a video, and like I've focused on Bitcoin since probably 2018, I think specifically. But I did a video in the bull run of 2021, and the video was, this is the next Bitcoin. And it was all about talking about like how this amazing new coin, like it's super cheap. You can get like you could get however many thousand of them for $1. And it had this additional layer where it was like super fast and basically instantaneous and nearly free to send it and all this shit. And it was literally just me pitching sats to people. And so, but it was a 45-minute video on how amazing sats are and how they're going to replace Bitcoin. And I didn't like let the gag up through the whole thing. And a bunch of people, like no shit, actually thought this was like the replacement for Bitcoin. So like that's
those YouTube comments were really fun, I bet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. All kinds. Like I pissed off like pretty much everybody that got it. And then I also brought in the people that were just completely blind to anything. And they're like, this sounds compelling. I think I will buy this instead of Bitcoin. It's great. And I was like, listen, all you need is a wallet that accepts sats. You can literally buy Bitcoin, or if you already have Bitcoin and you want to convert it to sats, you just send it to the wallet that accepts sats and it converts like that for you. You don't even need to do anything. Like, it's like I had this whole conversion.
Most of them just have it in the settings. You can just write in the settings and it's an atomic swap.
Yeah, you have sats immediate. It's incredible. Like the technology behind this is amazing. But like it just
that's very Canadian of you.
Yeah.
That's very Canadian.
Yeah. I think so. Again, to the point of I think why people get stuck
for the
on Bitcoin versus other things is there's this belief that tech needs to move fast and break things, but the when you're talking about a monetary base, the reason that it was broken in the first place is because you could move fast and break things. The whole reason that the gold standard failed is because they could fucking rug pull it and change the rules from out from under us. And so when people point to Bitcoin and they're like, oh, it's boomer tech because it's slow and you can't do these things, you can't change it, you can't, that's the point, because we want it so difficult to change the foundational rules of the entire network. And when you have something that can change on a fucking dime when it comes to monetary policy, you've just thrown out the entire reason Bitcoin was created in the first place. And I think that's the hard part to get across, because people think tech should be fast and change quick.
It's such a common category error.
Yeah.
Like, they just do not understand what layer it's at. They think it's the same as the app that they just downloaded, that, you know, TikTok is better than Instagram. Everybody's moving over to TikTok. And they don't realize that Bitcoin is far, far closer. In fact, arguably could even be lower on the layer stack than the English language and TCP/IP. Like you're talking about like a foundational piece of how you achieve like consensus in a network, which is literally the problem of sustaining a society. Like that's the layer of where this innovation exists. So when they're thinking that it's going to be like, oh, the better app, or it's going to be the thing that's like fast, it's like, no, bitch, we're talking about how do you make something where everybody who viciously disagrees with everybody, that everyone else, that they can actually use the exact same fucking thing and neither one of them has the upper hand. That's the level of technology that we are talking about. And it has fundamentally changed that, going all the way back to your point about Jeff Booth, which I love that because it's kind of a mirror image of something that was talked about in a debate way back in like 2012 or 2013 that I watched, was that they asked like what was the worst thing about, like, he just talked about like Bitcoin's great, it does this, it does this, it does this. And somebody asked what the worst thing about Bitcoin was. And they said, which was kind of the mirror image of what Jeff Booth kind of put it in a personal context, which I really love, was they said, it's that every one of those benefits that I just told you about, the person you hate most in the world can get them too, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then in the context of like Jeff Booth's like kind of personal position, it's that when the person you hate most in the world gets those benefits, it actually helps you. It's actually better for you for them to be there, for you to actually cooperate. And like when you have no understanding, our education system is a fucking joke when it comes to like teaching people how society works and like why it emerges and like what an emergent technology is. And I mean this in the context of like how we organize, like moral values, ethical, like protocols for how you use, like, hey, how are you doing? How like how you literally interact with people, the language that we speak and how it actually evolves naturally over time. Like we're talking about like foundational things that dictate where and how a society can move. And that's the layer that we're talking about. And when somebody says is like, oh, I got a faster app, I'm like, oh my God, dude, like you've so deeply misunderstood where and how it is. But it's so hard to get anybody to understand that like they need to drop. Like as soon as you're thinking about stocks and finance and stuff, you've missed the point of why Bitcoin is fundamental. And
I love this comment from Owl because he outlines it great. Again, if the average person, and again, being in Canada, this is particularly like in 2022, the trucker protest, this is half my friends, right? So the quote from Owl, thank you for this. If the average person can't understand the value of free speech for enemies, it's hard to understand money for enemies. And this is exactly what played out here. It's like, you know, whatever side you were on in regards to the trucker protest here and like your thoughts on the lockdowns and all of that, if you couldn't just agree that people should be able to voice their opinion without having their bank account shut down, then, and you couldn't zoom out and see that the same powers could be focused upon you with an opposing government to your particular cause, then you need to really reevaluate how you're thinking about the world. Because like these, again, to Jeff Booth's point, the whole point of all of this is to make systems that are resilient enough that when somebody that you hate wants to say or do something, that you can't immediately shut them down at the flick of a switch just because you have power. And that's
it's opportunity for all. And I am probably bring up something that Maxis don't love. I'm a comedian and entertainer, so I'm interested in ordinals, right? But ordinals is an example of a way that there is more to do with the Bitcoin network, right? And you can do it without, like, I don't know what the word would be, but just without compromising the integrity. And my favorite thing right now, and I'm not saying, oh, I'm pitching ordinals, whatever. That's not the point of this. The point is that I'm really interested in this one analogy that I came up with, which is really fun. So I had a dollar bill once, and it was a $1 bill, and somebody on the side that says 1 had put a B in the front of it, and then an R on the other side. So this $1 bill on the back of it said boner. Okay. Now that is very funny to me. And the funniest thing about it is you can still spend that dollar. It's just been inscribed, right? So again, I'm not pushing ordinals. I'm just saying you could have this thing that has this solid integrity that is even layer 0 from money, internet protocol, all of it, right? But you can still do things with it. And so, but I would take everyone saying, fuck that, I'm a purist, forget it. I would take all of that to just retain what Bitcoin is, instead of people building stuff on ETH that then take the shine away from it and everybody moves on and whatever.
Yeah.
So I think Bitcoin has a soundness in a way that both is revolutionary, once in a human history kind of level, but also it's not boomer tech. There's more to do with it, you know? So that's because I like that you kept saying that phrase, and it's like, it's true. People try and write it off. They're going to try and write it off every which way they can.
Yeah.
Because they were late on it. The problem is they're writing it off because they're embarrassed and they're late on it.
Yeah.
But they're not late on it.
Yeah. You'll know it goes.
We know that, but they think it's now $100,000. They think they're late, and that's
true.
The issue.
That's
yeah.
true.
Right? So it's all these people. So that's why they think XRP. They're like, I got it at 250. It's so smart, like, you know. And it's hard to. And that's why, you know, unfortunately, the 20 million what BTC session, which took too long to explain the SAT joke he had. But like, you know, the SAT joke being smarter if it's a lower value. But like, the truth is, they think they're late because it's 100K, and we keep trying to explain you're not even late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anybody,
something that Mike from Miami said that I think, like getting into like the idea of mainstream again, and like when it goes mainstream, it'll be that. Oh shit! I totally lost my train of thought.
Wait, hold that thought.
No, I'm gonna pull this one back. I'm gonna pull this one back. Oh no, I got it. I got it.
Changing your name, TJ.
I got it. It's nobody will ever, because you talked about like people like when they will admit that they're wrong, or that they won't admit that they were wrong. It won't be when people are like, oh, they admit that they were wrong. It's when it's become so normalized that they forgot that they were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They will just kind of whitewash their memory that they ever hated Bitcoin or said you were stupid or anything, and it'll just be like, well, duh, I don't know. It's just part of the internet. It's in all my apps. So it's like, whatever. And it won't. I don't know.
I don't feel like we've ever seen that in any very recent history of things that have maybe happened
about COVID.
I feel like we've never seen that before, especially not in the past 5 years. Anyways, we are going to go to a quick break. Guy, you are next. You're going to drop your reason for being bullish. I'm really enjoying this conversation. It's been a blast. Guy, I've got I've got a request to ask of you because my bladder is going to explode. I'm going to hit this break as soon as we come back. I will not be here because I will still be evacuating said bladder. I just want you to launch into your reason for being bullish as soon as we get back. All right.
I'm here. I am here for that.
All right, cool. We will be back in 1 minute. Looking for a simple and secure way to manage your Bitcoin on mobile? AQUA Wallet has you covered. It's user-friendly and puts you in full control of your Bitcoin with secure self-custody. AQUA also supports Lightning and Liquid Network, making fast, cheap Bitcoin payments and asset transfers easier than ever. Plus, it even supports stablecoins, giving you ultimate flexibility. Built on open source code, AQUA is transparent, trustworthy, and perfect for beginner and pros alike. Ready to upgrade your Bitcoin experience? Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen now to download AQUA Wallet today. Securing your Bitcoin doesn't have to be complicated or invasive. With NUNCHUK's HONEYBADGER plan, you get state-of-the-art multisig with built-in inheritance planning and no KYC required. NUNCHUK is trusted by users to secure billions of dollars in Bitcoin. The HONEYBADGER plan offers 204 assisted multisig, guiding you step-by-step on mobile or desktop. It works seamlessly with hardware wallets like TapSigner, ColdCard, Jade, and plenty of others, so you're always in control. Plus, with non-KYC inheritance planning, you can ensure your Bitcoin goes to your loved ones. No private info needed. Take control of your Bitcoin today. Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen to check out the HONEYBADGER plan. CoinKite has been in the game for years, creating hands down the best and most secure hardware when it comes to securing your Bitcoin. The ColdCard Q is an absolute powerhouse and my daily driver, and it's ideal for newcomers and advanced users alike. The TapSigner gives you a low-cost, user-friendly option for those just getting started or for convenience when traveling. You can head to coinkite.com and use code BTCSessions for discounts, or simply scan the QR code on the screen to get started right away. I made it.
All right, welcome back, guys, to Why Are We Bullish? I am your host, Guy Swann,
I love this.
frequent and most loved guest, and we are getting into my reason for being bullish today. I hope you guys are ready for this. So my reason for being bullish is I'm about to have a daughter, and I've been on a Bitcoin standard for, I shit you not, like the quote unquote due date is the 14th, so like we're literally any day now.
Whoa, congratulations, dude.
Thank you. And this will be the second one. Rad will get a little sister.
Also, the fact that your son is named Rad is so rad.
And you're dadical. You're dadical.
Oh yeah, dadical all the way. Dadical all the way. And I I've been on Bitcoin standard for I don't know 3 or 4 years, in the sense that like I try to avoid fiat anywhere I can, right? Like it's touched as little as possible for my day to day. But Bitcoin has, changed my life in a lot of different ways. But the fact that we have this, and that it has given me the opportunity to be here at home, to actually be a permanent and constant part of my sons and soon my daughters and probably another 2 kids' lives. It's something, when I looked forward in my 20s or whatever, like I hoped that, I would be successful or something. And I didn't know quite what that looked like, what that meant, I always said, oh, I want to be rich, or I want to do this or whatever. And now all I can think about is how amazing it is to just be able to be home with my family, to like not have to outsource looking after or teaching my kids, and it has totally changed my perspective on a lot of things. And it's funny, like looking back, I did get so many of the things that, like exactly the things that I talked about or that I had wanted, but I got them in a completely different way and they mean a completely different thing to me today than I ever suspected they would way back then. And that makes me bullish. And then just from the pure technical side, because I'm a nerd and I want to say something about that, is Bitcoin and Lightning have been like, I'm bullish on the internet. I'm bullish on the internet because one of the most important things that the internet has always missed was a native monetary protocol. The ability to embed payments in communications and directly send value from person to person. And everything that I have been digging into with Nostr, the things that we have been building with PairDrive and stuff with like PubKey and all this stuff. Like I think people forget that Bitcoin's ultimate purpose is actually a re-revolution in how the internet architecture works, and that we're going to see the internet change as much as everything else, or possibly even more. And like, we are like right at the beginning of that shit. And so those are my two reasons for being bullish.
Stop letting Nostr. Here's the truth: is your daughter's gonna get born, right? And the cool thing is you're early on Bitcoin. We all know Bitcoin's actually going to work out. And here's the biggest cheat code to any new parent, right? I got an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. They actually think I'm cool because Bitcoin's cool. I had to go to Bring Your Kids to Work Day to talk about like, something, and I get to talk about Bitcoin. But the truth is, because Bitcoin works out, you get to be dad that knew that early. All my kids' friends, for all their christenings, we go to very proper, we're Italian American, so we go to very proper Catholic schools. Like, for all their communions, you give a little bit of Bitcoin, right? And they just know from like 4 years ago, like, Mr. Germano, my Bitcoin's doing well. Oh my God, there we go, right? So like, a cool cheat code to, once again, if it goes to zero, you're fucked. Everyone thinks you're a loser anyway, it doesn't matter. But when it does what we know it's going to do, it's like, Mr. Germano, he knew this was going to take off, right? And so all the kids, as the best Bitcoin tweet I ever had was my son at like his 4th grade graduation said, everyone said they want to be, I want to be a policeman. I want to be an athlete. And my son goes, I want to have a Bitcoin mining facility. And the entire school laughs at him. Right. By the way, every mining company sent thousands of dollars.
No shit. That was your son?
That was my son. Right. So like, and I didn't even know he was going to say that. Like, like, once again, I love media. I'll prep a lot of things. I did not know he was going to say that. And what it really came down to was it's actually an exciting thing for your kids to be like, this is cool, because guess what? It's going to work out, right? Like, we know what Bitcoin's going to do. And they're like, Dad had his conviction. He thought this was going to be big, like he put time into it. Like, I brought my kids to the Bitcoin conference, right? And now the best thing for me, and if I'm bullish on this, is because they go, Dad believed in that. That was the value in believing in something and actually working hard for it. And that, truthfully, is a benefit that's not just about the dollar go up. I know you have kids, BT session, you have kids, right? Like, and and this is a kind of a additional lifestyle value to Bitcoin, but it's about telling our kids, this is why you should believe in something, put your time into it, and what the payoff could be, because they're going to have their own thing in life, and that's kind of a value. And I say that because my kids are now wondering why Dad's live streaming until 8 p.m. and they're eating dinner while they're watching it in our living room. This was really just an excuse for me to say hi to all of them. So I just want to point that out.
Well, tell your kids, I'll send them all like cold card cues or something if they keep on watching. They have to like the episode and subscribe and all that shit.
Just share it on Instagram. Your TikTok. You put it in your TikTok.
Your TikTok. No, I love your reason, because again, it gets at the root of the downstream effects of what fiat has done to everyone. And that is that the idea of having even a single breadwinner in a family home is basically completely out the fucking window for pretty much everyone. Like, the vast
price of everything doesn't fall in your money.
Except for me.
You're kind of screwed.
Except for me.
Yeah.
Your wife's got all the Bitcoin. You're screwed. You're screwed.
I am fucked.
But like, again, like it's
I'm sitting on too much dog without it.
It's just again, we've gotten to a place where we've normalized, and it's great that anybody should be able to have the career trajectory that they want, but it's a crime that it requires both parents to be working full time in order to support a family. And let alone, like, we've kind of already surpassed the point where two parents must be working full time to support. It's, you have a couple that is living, and it's like, if I'm not in a relationship, I require roommates to survive. And then if I happen to find somebody that I want to share my life with, I must then, we have to live together. But then it's like, how the hell are we ever going to afford to have a kid? Like, I can barely put food on the table and cover rent. Why would we have kids? Like, it's just irresponsible. We're literally, like, fiat is causing us to live out the movie Idiocracy, because the responsible people are like, well, there's no way I could afford this. Of course I'm not going to have children. And then the people that are like not looking at finances whatsoever, they're pumping out kids, but it's like they're born into like literally a thankless, like, what the hell are you going to do? You're never going to own a home, like all that kind of stuff. And so what we're starting to see in the Bitcoin space is like this push towards, hey, like, we can maybe do families again. Maybe we'll have more kids. Like, when I look at other Bitcoiners that I know, there's a number of them that actually have way more kids than I've seen from most of my other friends. And they're doing all right. And that's because, like, if you can spend less than you earn and provide value to others, and you can save enough money that nobody else can print, it's a bit of a cheat code for life, because that's kind of how it should be. Nobody should be able to just print away the value you've provided to society. And so I think this is bullish as hell. And in the same vein as, like, you just being excited that your family is growing, like, again, Mike, having you had your family down at the halving party in El Salvador, which was awesome, and it was cool to hang out there. And like, I've got a daughter, she's turning 8 this summer, and we in Calgary here, we do an event called the Sat Market, which is like a local circular economy. So you can, like, I've been living on Bitcoin exclusively since 2020. Like, I earn 95% of my income is Bitcoin. And then I string it together and make it work. Like, there's some hoops to jump through, but like, I'd rather do that than like ideological.
Dude, it's getting so much easier. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, just from last year, like the integrate, like the number of I'm just having, like, everything's like shrinking down. It's getting so much fucking easier. It's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, that's because also Fold is about to go public soon. Like, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm wearing the hat.
There you go. Good job, Fold.
But it's so I think what we're doing, what's happening right now with this again, like, and I'm tying it into the fact that, like, being able to do this is easier. But you just have to, you need to be able to zoom out. So, like, you need to provide enough value where you have the capacity to save. And then you need to save in money that nobody can print. But the point that I was kind of getting at in being able to live on Bitcoin and where I was tying in my daughter to this equation is, she's been present now in and around the Bitcoin realm for some time, to the point where she understands, like, oh, this is a thing, and like, it's real. And she's starting to ask questions about money, and she's learning, and she's in grade 2, so she's kind of figuring out things. But she's a large part of it is the friendliness that Lena Seish and the little hodler there you go. Mike's probably got, yeah, there we go. There's a couple I didn't even see them there. There we go. But like, Lena is making it.
This is the Amsterdam pot smoker one. There's only 10 of these that exist, obviously. So that's not for the kids, but yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll send that to you, Guy, because that's what,
I love it.
I want it. I need it right now. Yeah. That in my life.
But like, again, like, my daughter, because every time I go to an event, I'll grab her like a little hodler. And so she's got like a whole family of them. And so she's kind of she's just seen it in the background, not like pushed upon her, but it's been a positive thing in our lives. And she's never existed in a world where Bitcoin didn't exist, which is, again, like constantly is a mind fuck. Like Bitcoin has been around since 2009. That's a long time. And so like anybody who's, before, like pre-16, they've always lived in a world where Bitcoin existed. And that's crazy. We're almost to the point where being like of age to be able to go to the bar and like having all the responsibilities of adulthood, all of those people have always existed in a world where Bitcoin also existed.
They do not know of a world without Bitcoin. Yeah. It's that weird thing that their parents talk about. Yeah. And that's why I really love Svetsky's like 3 generations theory, is that it's when you have a shift, when you have a technological shift that's like that deep in the mindset, that it literally occurs at a generational level. And so like we won't be done with quote unquote Bitcoin for 3 generations.
Yeah. And this is where I'm seeing the overlap, because I was talking to my dad the other night and he was like, he's always been very averse to anything technological. Like he just got a cell phone. Like this is
really?
Yeah. Like this is
epic late. That's it's legend.
And so like, but there's this weird kind of like, it makes sense that the internet and computers, for somebody that grew up through their entire adult life where those things didn't exist and then got into it in like later life, is like, oh, this is foreign to me. And then we're at a weird point where like millennials grew up with all the new shit was happening, but it sucked. So you had to learn to troubleshoot. And so we're at this point where it's like we learned not only how the new shit works, but also how to fix it when it breaks. But then you get all the Gen Zs that it's like, it just kind of always worked. I had an iPad and I just tapped on the app and it worked. But if it goes wrong, I have no idea what's going on. And so I think we're at this inflection point when it comes to the money, because the money was the last piece of the puzzle in the digital realm, the digital sovereignty realm. And my daughter is at the point where she has a Bitcoin wallet, and we had a yard sale this past summer, and she's moving out of the Barbie phase. So she sold a bunch of her Barbies and everything. And then we said, okay, like we'll take the cash, we'll swap it for Bitcoin. Half of it you're going to keep in cash, and then you can just whatever, you go shop and do whatever. And then the other half you're going to keep in a Bitcoin wallet. And then that was last summer. And then we, blew past 100K, and then we get on the other side of 2025, and she's like, oh, awesome. And we had a SAT market here, which is our local circular economy in Calgary, and she shows up to this market here. And we have like 40 or 50 local vendors of all this different cool stuff that we do here. And she's going around, and she just has she doesn't have a phone. She has an iPad. And so she's going up, and all of these vendors they're very curious about Bitcoin, but they're also just kind of learning. And my 7-year-old daughter is rocking up to all these booths, and they're like, she's like, I want to buy this thing. And she whips out the iPad on the local Wi-Fi, and she's like, I'm ready. And the vendor's still figuring out how to pull up the fucking QR code. And they're like, who is this 7-year-old who is like just destroying me in technological knowledge here at like a Bitcoin market? And so she just
lightning invoice, hit the lightning one.
Yeah, she's like, no, click on the lightning bolt. That's the thing. And like, she just destroyed it. And everybody's like, what in the fuck is going on? And so this was like the biggest swell of dad pride in and around like, this is the next generation of Bitcoiners, that I was like, this is where it is. And also I think, like, we're on the cusp of the millennials understood the troubleshooting of like just the general kind of computer and that age. And then the Gen Z is like, well, everything works. So if it breaks, I need a specialist to fix it. But our kids right now are on the cusp of the everything digital money is new, and we're going to learn how to fix it if it breaks. And so our kids are the ones that are going to benefit through their entire lives to coach the next generation that doesn't know how to fix it when it breaks. And I think that's super fucking cool. I think that my daughter and my son and all of our kids, if they want to be, can be the ones for the next generation that grows up where mostly everything works. They can be the ones to fix it that when it goes wrong. So anyways.
Or just a quick life dad hack. When you get too drunk and forget to put the dollars underneath your kid's pillow for a tooth fairy.
What?
Yeah, I did. I sent Bitcoin to my daughter.
There's no tooth fairy?
TJ just discovered this.
Yeah. Well, the real goal is that Michael Saylor is going to find a way to turn Bitcoin tooth fairy money, and he's going to get 3x CAR in it. But I recently forgot to give my daughter had her tooth fairy, and I just sent Bitcoin to her Bitcoin wallet and her Lightning wallet. I was like, oh, and she just in her head was like, yeah, of course, like that makes a lot more sense. This is what our family is.
He's very busy, you know. He's got great Wi-Fi.
My Bitcoin wallet Lightning payment. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know if I was the best dad or the worst dad. I was like,
that's the best.
Shit.
I
just want to point out, quick cheat code: give your kid when your kid has a Bitcoin wallet because they have it on their iPad. They don't need to have internet access and they have their little Mun wallet or whoever's sponsoring BTC sessions, whatever's sponsoring you. But the truth is, you can send them their little Lightning.
Mike, they very clearly have AQUA wallet, obviously.
AQUA wallet. Yeah.
No, I think you in a very.
I just have Venmo.
Yeah. You delete that MetaMask shit, man.
That's
Come
fine.
on. I think, Mike, you just accidentally stumbled and then like face planted into being a good dad through that. I think that's what happened. It's great.
Too much.
But I think, one last, at least for me, like, another reason to be bullish is because there's more talk this cycle about generational wealth than I've heard. So that's new. And the only way you can have that discussion arise is if this has all been going on long enough that you can think in terms of generational wealth. And so that's another thing. So I also am I look at things like that and I'm like, those aren't hard numbers. Those are just, and this is my job also. What I do for a living is kind of look at everything and say, well, this city is like this. Miami is addictive and Los Angeles is burned down, but Philadelphia is gritty. Hollywood and Los Angeles is grimy. New York is, whatever. And I think that when I look at the idea of talking about generational wealth, that is indicative of this has been going on long enough and it's real, that in the sense that we know that it's going to continue. Then people start to go, not only should you not sell your Bitcoin, you should keep it because you're going to give it to your kids. And then they're going to have that and they're going to make the decision. And philanthropy will be this new thing, in our children's generation of saying, I'm going to give, 1/100th of a Bitcoin to this foundation. And then they're going to retain that and decide. And I really, this is a new thing for me, but I just believe that eventually part of the philosophy is going to be like, you don't spend Bitcoin. You don't gift Bitcoin unless it's a life-changing event. That's going to do something. And that's what I've heard, Guy, from you about your family. Sessions, you've said something similar. Sad Fairy, you're a liar. You like Sad Ben, you lie to children. You lie to adults. You just, this is, you're 20, what's the joke? 2028's presidential candidate. But for me, like, I think that's really important. And I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm trying to kind of wrap that up into my pitch so that people go, wow, it's less about it's like, this is really special. Like if I own some of this, then clearly TJ thinks it's special enough that he won't spend it unless. And I think that's a cooler message then. I'm diamond hands, motherfucker. I'm richer than everybody in this fucking room. So we're gonna have to keep kind of playing with that and toying with it. But one thing that came to mind a little while ago, Guy, when you were talking, was like, there is something funny about we can all, and I'm going to credit Julene again on this, like we can all sort of feel this way. I'm going to approach it this way. I'm going to tell people in this capacity that it doesn't matter. Bitcoin's going to keep going up. It keeps moving. New people, we're not going the opposite direction of adoption. That's just not happening. So as we do these podcasts, have these conversations till 4 a.m, meet somebody that you didn't even know was a Bitcoiner and then end up like spending the next 2 days talking about this shit. As we're all doing that, Bitcoin continues to do what it is doing. I think that's really special too. I think that's really fucking cool, actually.
Yeah, I like that. Gentlemen, I'm conscious of time. We've gone
Sessions.
Impossibly long.
I love it though. I love everybody in the the private chat nothing will ever get better than that.
Yeah,
I'm loving everybody in the Ron P. World of Rusty needs to quit using not enough emojis. Nathan, I love. I do. Yellow, just keep talking. Keep fighting the good fight. Anybody who talked about your son playing Roblox is maybe truly a tooth fairy. And talk sats, not bits. And I loved being on here. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, this has been great.
Hey, man.
Good.
I'm glad we got some real
Swann,
personal stuff out this time. And the next time we're in public and a lot of people are watching, we should go much deeper and like really hit some like core insecurities and like really like childhood, some good childhood like embarrassment shit. Like it was really let's just dig into it,
All right. So when there's a guy in my class, Justin Green, and he said he had sex before anybody else, and this was in 6th grade, and he's this incredible dude. And I really always wanted to have
the coolest
sex
shit in the world
younger.
in 6th
and
grade.
And it was and I said to him, what does sex feel like? What does it feel like? And he told me, if you cut a hole in a tomato, okay, and you put your penis in there, that's exactly what sex feels like. So I waited until my parents went to sleep, okay, and I got a tomato out of the crisper, and we're not British, but that's what we called it. I got a tomato out of the crisper, and I cut a hole in it, and it's okay, Guy. And Sad Fairy, I trust you now. And Sessions, I'm not going to tell people about your hair, but they already know.
Yeah, they know.
And awesome. I cut a hole in the tomato, and I put my penis in the tomato, and I got to tell you guys, immediately, I was like, I should have let this warm up. Doing this right out of the fridge feels like necrophilia, and it wasn't a big deal. It was still a bad experience, and one of the seeds got in my urethra, and then a tomato vine grew out of my penis, and we had fresh marinara and for that entire week. But I don't know. I mean,
it's great. I mean,
thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
He literally, I like that he dipped. He literally fucking just left the stream. I mean, this is as good a time.
And I'm out.
That's perfect. So anyways, if you take one piece of good information from this episode, it's don't have intercourse with a tomato, especially a cold tomato, because you could get urethra vines.
But the important thing here is, and I really do say, even though he did dip,
it is rough stuff, though.
We are getting to mainstream. Like, I know it sounds very silly, and I kind of joke, but I'm laughing because I'm like, Guy Swann, who everyone listening here, I'm like, Guy, how many articles have you read to Bitcoiners? How many years have you been doing this?
Fuck. 6, 7?
Forever,
7.
right? So like, there's so many people, right? And what makes it interesting is the next, and I mean this in a nice way, the next group of Bitcoiners that come in, how they get adopted, right? It's not going to be technical people, right? Anyone who's tech has already come in. No one's like new to tech saying, I just found out about Bitcoin, right? So now you're going to have a whole different class. The same way that, all kidding aside, computer nerds, we learned how to code to talk to each other, and then someone built Facebook, and then all the cool kids found a way to communicate with each other. And there was no one who's in social network knew how to code. They were just like, I can post pictures and stuff. That's what's going to happen to Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we will have some tomato fucking conversations. That's going to happen. But the truth is, the next generation, the next class of Bitcoiners coming in are here for a different social benefit, right? Yeah. So it's interesting that kind of keeps opening more and more. It's going to make it more fun. It's going to make it more interesting. But you
know what, Mike? I think that the conversation tomato fucking ratio continues to grow as mainstream adoption. Like that's an indicator of mainstream adoption.
Yes. That is right. Right, trying to fornicate with a fruit like American pie or some type of food. That ratio of people involved willing to have that conversation, yes, absolutely.
I think
relevant bandwidth of fruits and vegetables as sexual tools.
I think this exact conversation that we just had is how we know we've made it. I'm pretty sure this is mainstream adoption. So there you go. There you have it. First up in the chat, if you were here, you just witnessed it. TJ Miller having sex with a cold tomato is mainstream adoption. You're welcome. Congratulations. We made it. So with that, where else?
I'm gonna have dinner with spaghetti meatballs. So
that's it. Mike, Guy, and TJ. It would be funny if he's still just like watching this in the background. I hope he is. But again, gentlemen, I'm having just around the corner in about a month and a half. I'm going to New York, and I'm going to PubKey.
Hey,
and I'm turning 40.
Oh yeah.
And
that's right, I got an invite for that. I don't know if we're gonna have like a baby.
Yeah, you're gonna have a baby, and that's understandable. But if you,
I'm actually gonna try. I will. We talk, and it might be a up and back that night. Yeah.
Well, if you're able to make it, I would love it. Again, TJ, if you're watching, swing by. Would be happy to have you. And if you're in the New York area, just reach out. Let me know. We'd love to have you out. And you know what I'm doing? Spoiler alert. I'm getting Mrs. Sessions to dye this shit white for the occasion.
That's very 40 of you.
I know, it's so 40. But yeah, I'm looking forward. I don't really.
We're going to celebrate a great Bitcoiner. You're gonna have a great time.
It's gonna be fun. I'm just I don't do a shit for my birthday. Like I haven't done shit for my birthday since I turned and in US it's 21, but 18 is kind of the big deal here. It's like, oh, you can drink. And then 21 here is kind of like a nothing birthday because we you sort of celebrate it, but not really. But then it's just like your 20s. And then 30, maybe you're like, I guess I'm old or whatever. So
you're invited to my 40th. You're both invited to my 40th. TJ can't come. TJ cannot come. We got 2 years, I think. I don't know how old I am.
Well, that's good. It's just an excuse for you to have a party and do whatever you want and make your friends come. That's all the 40th is. Just like a bachelor party or whatever. So 40th gives you a reason to do something you want to do. And we're very happy now that I'm at PubKey 3 days in. But we're very happy to host and to celebrate. And we'll show. And as an Italian American in New York, I'll make sure you have a good time. I'll make sure it goes well. I'll make sure everything goes well. So,
Mike, I think we need to normalize notable Bitcoiners having their birthdays at PubKey.
It might be something we're working on. I just want to point it out.
I feel like that's a thing. But Mike, yeah, I'm throwing this out here on the live stream, but come over to PubKey. We're doing it on the Saturday, March 29th. So if you happen to be in New York in and around that time, make your way down.
Perfect.
We'll maybe drop a few more hints about what's going on. But
is that your actual birthday day?
No, it's the 27th. It's the Thursday. I'm flying. I'm actually at Mining Disrupt in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm flying on my actual birthday from Fort Lauderdale to New York.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make
Just
sure
spend
it's going to be a
The
good
day in
time.
a plane.
Yeah. It's not too long.
And for Bitcoiners that want to celebrate their birthday, we will create a special tradition. We will figure out something for you that then fellow Bitcoiners, when they want to celebrate their Bitcoin, can have a good time.
I love it. Thanks.
All right. Well, I'll take your. I'll take your premier package.
Yeah.
Guy, you get whatever you want, man. You told us all about Bitcoin, so you get a free pass. So we just have Bitcoin Audible in the bathroom. So instead of like elevator music, we just have you explaining to people like, this is Guy Swann. You're now going to the bathroom. Here's Bitcoin. Don't have sex with a tomato. That's constantly what's playing in the PubKey bathroom. So you get whatever you want.
A Measure of Sacrifice by Nick.
I love it. All right, Jen, we're going to round out here. Mike, Guy, and the dearly departed TJ Miller, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. What a great conversation. I really, really enjoyed this. This is a lot of fun. So thank you guys for being a part of it. And yeah, we'll just tap out here. Mike, I'll see you at PubKey in March. Guy, bullish as hell on the next addition to the Bitcoiner family as a whole. And yeah, you guys have a great Friday evening. Have a great weekend. And for everybody watching, keep stacking sats, keep stacking skills. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This was your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.